and yet more questions of infinite quizzicality. Brace thyself, then, for further answers to clarify, inspire, and enthuse. As for the matter of footwear, I must admit that while I have often been clogged, and just so often unclogged, that I have never in fact been clog-clad, Japanese or otherwise. The primary reason for my distinct state of uncloggedness is that having so completely shamed an entire generation of Japanese youth with my chopsticking, that I feared any further encroachment upon their traditions would very likely result in my being horribly sat upon, and quite possibly bitten upon the lobe. The second and somewhat less influential reason is that I am not Dutch, though they are known to be a finely becheesed people. Whether or not I like the weather depends entirely on whether or not my opinion of the weather is influenced by the weather, or whether I am steadfast in my opinions, whether or not the weather is heavy as soup or light as a feather. Whether I cared for rain or not, however, I can assure you that the weather could care less, and rain a lot it did. In fact, each time I struck out upon one of my great expeditions into the northern jungles of the island, it seemed that the rain itself would harry me terribly along my way. Luckily, my trusty Humvee was not easily stymied by any assault of rain, mud, or water, and I am happy to say that my trusty mechanical steed bore me true and brought me safe each time from the dark reaches of that horribly begibboned jungle, as evidenced by my thoroughly unbegibboned presence and the robiderant mud that clung horribly to the larger portion of my trusty steed. As for the people there, and whether or not I loved them, I can say that certainly I cared for them deeply. In fact, one day I was exploring the voluminous depths of a jungle cave, and I captured one of them, and was lucky enough to keep him tidily in my closet for a time, and name him Clarence. I dare say, however, that he was the quiet sort, and quickly became a bore. Therefore did I deposit him back in his cave, and bid him farewell. I often worry after him to this day, however, as he seemed a trifle undernourished, and scarcely ever did anything but lie about and wait for someone to wait upon him. As for the other things I endeavoured upon that Japan land, I scarcely know where to begin. Perhaps you will find it of interest that upon the odd occasion I designed to dangle myself and my accomplices from the bottom of a helicopter, and fly about the isle, contriving to get a better view of the local birds in their natural habitat. It may also bear mentioning that upon one particularly savage foray into the northern jungle, I met a wholesomely fur-covered fellow one night, and have borne him with me ever since. Though he does not often speak, and rarely smells, he does enjoy a rousing game of the Super Mario when not watching oranges or staring at passers-by with a curiously indifferent gaze. All jungleering, spelunking, and ape-napping aside, however, it should not go without note that the prime source of occupation in that odd land is that of the karaoke. As nearly as I was able to divine, this form of entertainment consists largely of standing about stiffly and cooing horribly while being laughed at by anyone foolish enough to stop and watch. Though I had never endeavoured upon such a scrantobulent act before, I attempted to try my lobes upon it and master it entirely, and after doing so there can be little doubt of my exceptional talent, as I was able to produce far more laughter, pointing, and mockery than anyone else in attendance. The only other adventure of mention is my brief foray into clinology. This branch of the higher sciences concerns itself chiefly with the study of the cline in its natural environment. And while my accomplices and I found this school of study initially fascinating, it quickly became dangerous as we learned that the Klein is most inhospitable when roused to indignance. Therefore, in conclusion, young Weem, if you learn nothing more from this conveyance, learn this: that all rocks fall into one of the following 3 categories: sedimentary, igneous, metamorphic, and Tokyo hard. I recommend Tokyo hard. And now I must away, for even now my wicked progeny and his lobidious plans are afoot in the world, and awaiting my swift judgment, and I go to deliver it. Pray I am not too late. A.S. Peterson, a Weem adrift.